it along type thing. And then, of course, we talked about Hafley earlier today. If you guys missed this earlier today, just a quick recap. First of all, an update on what we covered today. What we're about to just hit on real quick was that I want to make sure we miss anything. Okay, cool. Actually, we'll hit that here in a second, Packer Doug. Thank you for those numbers. You're laying out the numbers, the balance, the budget. So Jeff Hafley completed his interview in Miami. Here's what's interesting, guys. I know they've got multiple interviews set up and everything, right? I think they've got Campanelli coming in maybe tomorrow. I know they scheduled it. I don't know when they scheduled it, but they've got an interview scheduled there. But Harbaugh with the Giants, if you look at the buzz around that, he met with the quarterback. He met with everybody today. You've got Diana Rossini coming out in the coming out on Twitter and basically saying all he's got to do is say yes. The Giants want him. That's their guy, right? So I want to draw kind of a stark contrast between the Jeff Hafley interview in Miami and the John Harbaugh one, right? John Harbaugh left on his he wants to explore other options. It sounds like, but that offer's on the table. The Giants want him bad. You're not getting that vibe with Jeff Hafley coming out of Miami, right? That's not to say he won't get the job. He may get the job, but it's just a little bit different feel than John Harbaugh, right? I don't think it's the same situation where it's like, okay, they're looking to not let him out of the building. They let him out of the building, right? And he's on to Arizona tomorrow. Now, again, all it takes is one of these teams to fall in love with him because we know he's going to knock the interview out of the freaking park, right? So with that being said, the fact that he left Miami and that had the largest betting odds, he was kind of the only, as we pointed out here, I believe. And I see Ricky being mentioned. Jim, what are you talking about? Let me know in the chat as quick as possible. I didn't see any previous comment there. If you're talking about, are you talking about Pretty Ricky? Is Pretty Ricky back on the streets again? Let me know if that's the case. I'll try to keep an eye on the chat there. That's why I like having multiple hosts so we can kind of dig into this stuff as they chat. But again, the odds on favorite to get the Miami Dolphins job with Jeff Hafley at plus 150. I'm interested and eager tomorrow morning. I'm going to try to do a morning show like we did today. I'm going to wake up and check those odds again if I forget, okay? And I want to kind of look at it and see, did it shift? Did it change? Or is the market kind of feeling like me that, hey, they let him out of the building? Does that mean that not necessarily the interview didn't go great, but it, wasn't enough to kind of knock their socks off type thing, okay? So we'll kind of continue to keep an eye on that. Here we go. So Jen Wright says Ricky with HIA and Harbaugh. What is HIA? See, I'm so stupid. Emilio, help me out here. What's HIA mean?
I don't know. HIA, that's a new one for me.
When I see HIA, I think of HOA, and I have a flashback to when I owned my first home, which was a condo, and boy, those people hated me, man. They were like, hey, your dogs are barking. I'm like, oh, they're going to get louder now? You complain. I don't give a rat's ass. You know what I mean?
I don't know what to tell you.
I grew up in the woods of Kentucky. You think I'm going to cater to a bunch of people who think they're more important than other people? Like, no.
It was that moment Clay knew he needed some acreage.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that's HOA, Clay. That's what I said. HOA, I know, man. That's what I said. I had a flashback. When I seen HIA, I thought HOA. Stop making me look stupider than I already am, Donovan, all right? So, trying to see exactly. So, it's a typo. Giants. Okay, gotcha. Giants. Okay. So, yeah, I think Ricky with Giants and Harbaugh, I guess what she's saying. So I'll try to look that up, make sure nothing broke there, and go through some other stuff. So anyway, Emilio, I don't know how much of the pod you caught earlier today. We're kind of talking Hafley right now, so we'll see if we can keep this on topic for a second. How do you feel about the whole Hafley situation? I was just saying just now, I don't know how much of it you heard, but Hafley was the betting favorite to get the Miami Dolphins job as of earlier today. He interviewed. But it's a lot different feel with Harbaugh coming out of the Giants. And I'm going to check Twitter to see if he actually got the job or not. That may be what the breaking news is, if there is anything there, right? But the fact that they let Hafley out of the building, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, we're going to interview other candidates. I don't know. It just feels a little different. Am I wrong there, you think?
Yeah, no, I feel like there is a point where you're like, hey, I mean, if this is the guy, you don't let him leave. You don't, it's one of those where you're willing to deal in, Clay. You got to be willing to walk away from the deal. If you're not willing to walk away and he's your man, you hammer that out right then and there, because you might as well get started on the offseason stuff as fast as possible. I mean, for all of these teams, let alone us, but everybody else. Like you've been saying, we got to get it squared away with Matt so we know where we're moving in the future, so that you can get your squad, your team together and and get preparing. You're only going to get a little bit of time off for, your little recess, and then you're back to it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not seeing any updates there. I'm not following Ricky anymore. We actually DM back and forth a little bit during the Micah Parsons stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we had somebody in the building too, believe it or not, that was feeding a little bit of information there. Just like we had somebody in the building that kind of gave us some details on Jordan Love's contract that ended up being true. Because I'm looking at these people going, they might be pulling my damn leg. Like, you know what I mean? This goes on all the time. There's smoke screens everywhere, but it seemed to be a pretty good source. I doubt they're watching, but if they were, they're probably going, you ain't getting no more since you just dog.
yeah, use that up. Thanks.
Like we said at the top of the hour, we are not experts. We are not insiders. Okay?
Not journalists. We're not good writers or anything.
We suck at all that. So let me ask you this, Emilio, right off the top of your head. If Hafley got the job at the Miami Dolphins, and let's assume that Matt LaFleur keeps the job in Green Bay, what would be your answer to DC? Would you promote from within? Would you try to go get Brian Flores? Is there somebody else you like better? Have you given any thought to that? Like, if you were in charge, how would you approach that?
Yeah, when I was catching up on a little bit of the ones earlier today, and I was thinking of that. I like the B-flow idea. I do. I mean, even if you say he goes to Miami, what if you pulled Campanelli back? I'm not mad at Covington maybe getting a chance at it again.
Let me hit time out for just a second. So, and this is a great conversation piece. So with Campanelli, to the best of my knowledge, you won't be able to make that lateral move unless he's not an assistant head coach, because Campanelli's the DC in Jacksonville. So we couldn't bring him back to be the DC, right? Unless you're talking about like if Matt.
Right. I think with that, I'm guessing Rich is out. You find a special teams guy, you use up the assistant head coach on a DC that has, maybe a little bit, behind him, a little bit of repertoire and stuff like that. I wouldn't be mad at that. Chris Shula, then that's another good one. But besides that, I would almost, rather, maybe dive in. Someone said earlier there, Al Harris on the Bears. I don't know if you're gonna be able to pull him over, but something like that, maybe a younger.
Say Al Harris. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You're gonna love this. So we're watching the game the other night, the Bears game, and Mandy looks up at me and she says, Al Harris is their coach? And I said, yeah, man. I said, hell, he's got a family to feed. Don't, you go to a division rival. And she said, no, why isn't he here? And I'm like, Mandy, honey, what are you talking about? Like, you want Al Harris over Jeff Hafley? And she's like, why not? And I'm like, I started laying out the numbers. It got kind of heated in the living room. Lincoln's ears pinned back. He walked out of the room. I'm like, I ain't going to witness no domestic violence here. So anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off. But when you said Al Harris, I immediately thought.
No, I just, what do you think? I mean, there are a bunch of options, but it's, like you said, we got to get the base figured out. We got to get the gravel in there and tamp all that down before we can start laying any blocks. That's our issue right now, is we are still filling that pit with gravel.
Yeah. For me, man, in terms of if Jeff Hafley left as defensive coordinator, first of all, you guys know I don't like a defensive-minded coach as a head coach. Like, it's not my perfect. It's not that I hate it. It's just, if I can choose, I want an offensive guru, mastermind, play caller as my head coach. That's just me personally. That's what I want. I want the guy who sets the tone with the offense, and it's offense first. And then you try to bring in, this has kind of been a great scenario here with Jeff Hafley to bring in this defensive mastermind to come in and kind of, get the defense back on track. Although I think we would all agree those last few weeks were pretty rough to watch, including that fourth quarter collapse there against Chicago. But if Jeff Hafley were to get the job in Miami, okay, Matt LaFleur stays, I now don't like the idea of promoting from within. Yeah. I think my choice would be go get B-Flow, Brian Flores, and he does not have a contract. That's not a lateral move. Like, his contract expired, so he's a free agent right now. He may get a head coaching job somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised one bit. But for me personally, that would be toward the top of the list for me, Emilio, would be Brian Flores. Bring in Brian Flores, and here's the reality too. Hafley's going to poach some of these assistants out of your defense, right? Okay. So you're good. He'll probably go get Derek Ansley or somebody, right? So you'll, if it's not Derek Ansley, seeing that he's a secondary coach, maybe he does take Covington.
Who was the one that came with him from BC?
Ogabasi.
Yeah.
Ogabasi. Yeah. Big defensive line coach. So he would definitely go with him. There's no doubt about that, right? But I think he would take one of the top two guys that Matt would promote to coordinator. But now we don't even know if Matt has say in that with some of the stuff that's kind of coming out with this negotiation, right? Are they kind of clipping Matt's wings and not letting him make a decision on us?
Yeah.
I don't know. Did I answer your question? I think B-Flow would be my top choice.
No, you did. I like that. No, I think that's a good. I think that's a good take. The problem is there's so few that you really kind of need to choose from that is going to be a good fit. You want to make sure that you have a secondary coverage, or do they have a blitz package? What are they normally running? What are we built for? Are they bringing over a 4-3 or a 3-4? Is it a lot of multiple? Are they running dime all the time? Are they in nickel only? So I don't want to bring in somebody that's not going to be able to use the talent we already have, because we already went through that with Hafley, right? So we want to make sure that you're bringing in somebody that's going to use everybody we have and can look at the tape like Hafley did. Remember those pressers? It wasn't long ago. Like, dude, I love this guy because he can do X, Y, and Z when I put him in A, B, and C positions. When when this guy's on the field, I'm not sure about that, but I think we can work with him. That's what I want to see from the next coach.
Yeah. Soder says Raheem Morris, connections with Matt LaFleur, huge connections there, right? Former head coach. I don't think that's a bad move, Soder. I don't think that's a bad move at all, man. I would be okay with that one. Although some would say it's another one of Matt LaFleur's friends, and we'll have to hear that for another year and a half or 2 years, right? The way that goes. So there was one more in here. I think it was Coach Lynn said something, combination here. Yeah, Brian Flores with Micah Parsons would be nasty. I'm going to pull B-Flow's statistics in terms of his defense. We got Jacob joining us now. Jacob, the question that we're kind of tossing around here, if Jeff Hafley did get a head coaching job, you okay? What's up?
Emilio's cats are.
Jacob's girl's calling him. That's what it was.
Gotcha. So if Jeff Hafley is gone and he gets a head coaching job, who would be your top choice for DC? Would you promote from within? Would you go find somebody on the market?
I've went back and forth on this. If I understand your guys' conversation as I just jumped in, I think I get that he's probably going to steal quite a few of his kind of underlings, if you will, people that maybe have been with him, like you said, with Boston College, or even just in the last year and a half that he maybe kind of resonates with, and maybe guys that feel like that they trust the Hafley vision a little more. I wouldn't say more than LaFleur, but maybe they just want to be a part of it. You know what I mean? I really do think that Brian Flores is an absolute freak of nature when it comes to getting the most out of those defenses. I don't quite think that his just demeanor and history with the NFL matches what the Packers typically would do. But again, they said that about bringing in guys like, Zadarius and Micah and, insert a couple of different names here. So maybe they're kind of shifting. Obviously with Ed Policy kind of running the show, it's a little bit of a different ball game that we don't really necessarily have a lot of, we don't have a lot of track record to see what they're willing and not willing to do. I think that Brian Flores would be pretty awesome. Again, I think I agree with Doping by Tony B. Hell yeah, dude. Says we won't pay enough for Flores. I do feel like that we're going to be a little bit cheaper.
That's the thing, right? Like that's been the problem. That's it got kind of resurfaced with the special teams coordinator talk of where in 2019 Matt wanted to go get Darren Rizzi, and basically Russ Ball said nope, too much money. Like what are we doing? And now they're saying that Matt might be asking for too much money, and we're dragging our feet, and all these guys are getting interviews and everything out. It's just frustrating. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's I completely agree with that. And been listening to your podcast while I'm at work, listening to Ryan's, and it's a great mixture because you guys are, I don't want to say you're saying the same thing, but you're highlighting different angles and as to why this would make sense if that happens. And it's not necessarily black and white. It's just not. Right. I think I like what Jen says here. Maybe we find another gem, though. I would have to imagine that they're not just, like to Clayton's point just now, like I know it seems like we're dragging our feet. I'm sure that Policy and Gutekunst and whoever it may be that's involved in this is probably have some guys in the hopper for years now that they've been watching them develop, seeing what type of success they've had, what type of people they are. It is going to be interesting because you guys know me. I'm always the cheapest dude that's in the room. I guarantee you. So, like, if there's a way that we could try to, I think that's the biggest thing for me about the whole LaFleur conversation. It's not just the fact that we have to re-sign him. It's the fact that we're going to probably have to give him a significant increase to try to give that guy, a market value type contract when you compare him to, especially the guys in the NFC North. I was listening to Clayton's podcast earlier where he talked about how Schefter basically said, bump those numbers up, bub. Like those ain't necessarily what we're actually reporting are accurate. So in that aspect, I see the Packers kind of being more willing to not necessarily move away from LaFleur because of thinking he's not a bad coach, but more of the fact that the dollars and cents don't make sense.
Yeah. And some people, they kind of talk about, the Packers small market team we are, and we got to really watch our budget. And I agree. Right. But as Packer Doug said, the Packers had a reserve fund of $579 million as of March 31st. It's probably going to go over $600 million by March of this year. So, I mean, it's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, again, do you want to win a championship or not? If you're going to skimp on coaches, you can't expect to win a championship. I'm sorry. That's just the way I see it. Listen, I own and operate several businesses. You're only as good as your tools. Emilio knows this. You're only as good as your tools. You're only as good as the money that you're willing to pump into the business. If you're not willing to invest money into a business, you're going to get your ass kicked. It's going to happen. It's got to take blood, sweat, and tears, a sore back when you get home, when you crack open that daddy soda, and you got to pony up the cash to have the proper tools, the proper equipment, the proper people to get the freaking job done. That's just life. So
$100 all steel shovel clay. I haven't had to go back and buy the $30 Huskies anymore. You know what I mean?
Bro, I'll never forget. They had me stand up at a business meeting, a business conference one time. They said, "You own a landscaping business, right?" And he said, "How much one of those mowers cost you?" One, I was like, "That death trap will cost you $15,000 right there."
Yep. Easy.
People are like, "Oh God, yeah. What do you think? What do y'all?" And that's what cracks me up about people that talk down about business owners, right? Well, they're wealthy and they've done no. They're not out on the club on Saturday night, carrying around a warm $7 beer because they want to look cool. You know what I'm saying? Like they're actually investing their money back in their company. And when everybody else is out partying, having a good time, you're here crunching the numbers, doing paperwork, getting things ready for the next work week. Like that's the reality of being a business owner. So small business owner, obviously there's some wealthy cats out there that probably sit with their feet kicked up. But so if I were to ask you guys, this is the last thing, then we'll move off of Hafley because we got to move on to the next topic.
Let me just do one thing. A shot in the dark defensive coordinator. Let's bring over the DC from Houston and give him the assistant head coach, Matt Burke. He's been there for 3 years, still doesn't have an assistant head coach, and they already have the assistant head coach on somebody on the offensive end. So
if we can do that, right, if that is a rule, right, I've never really gotten clarity on if that's actually
right.
But if it is, I'm with you. Burke,
something like that.
I can't believe his name isn't getting mentioned more, bro. Like, to me, he's the best defensive option, maybe outside of Flores. The question I was going to ask you guys, okay? I think that's a great one there, Emilio. But the question, if I'm going to ask you right down the line here, which one do you think had a better ranking? Scoring defense, Brian Flores or Jeff Hafley? Scoring defense.
Flores.
Yeah, Flores. No, Hafley.
Okay, it was Flores. Flores had the 6th best scoring defense in the league. Who do you think had the better yards per attempt, yards per play, which is essentially just total yards, running and passing together, yards per play allowed? Who do you think had the better one?
Probably B-Flow.
I'd go half on that one.
It's B-Flow. He's 3rd
boy.
best. Guess who had the better run defense?
Don't want to know it.
Brian Flores, 6th best run defense. Guess who had the better pass defense? Brian Flores, 7th best pass defense. He beat Hafley in every statistical category, and including takeaways as well. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Which pass rusher would you rather have on your team? Micah Parsons or whoever the best pass rusher is on the Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah.
We'd probably choose Micah Parsons. He had a better pass rusher, right? Who had the better, let's say, safety tandem? Maybe it's a little closer. I don't know. I have a hard time believing anybody would pick the Minnesota Vikings safety tandem over, what we have in Green Bay with Xavier McKinney and obviously Evan Williams, right? Like, he did more with less. He's actually a better DC than Jeff Hafley. That's the reality of the numbers. I mean, we could pretend like the numbers don't exist. You know what I'm saying? But I was surprised. I was expecting one or two of those to go Hafley's way. That was not the case just now. So again,
crazy. It
would actually be going and getting Brian Flores. If he did not get a head coaching job, it would be an upgrade statistically speaking, based off how they played. And it's, to me, it's another testament too of, is Kevin O'Connell actually overrated? I mean, he had one of the best defensive coordinators in the game, and they had that bad of a season. What are we doing here, right?
That's a good point.
Great question. So, anyway, There you go. There's your Jeff Hafley talk. If you guys are watching this video back later, let us know in the comments. How do you feel about the Jeff Hafley situation? Who would you rather have at DC, right? Who would you rather have be your defensive coordinator? Would it be Brian Flores? Would you rather promote from within? Would you rather have, your Derek Ansleys or your DeMarcus Covington? Let us know in the chat. Also, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future live streams. Let's talk some potential.
Real quick, Clayton, is this B. Timmy just put in the chat? Whoa, Cowboys asked to interview Covington for their DC. Do you know if that's
surprise me at all? Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. He's a former DC in New England. Now, it was a bad year for New England. Don't get me wrong, but he's that dude that's was coaching under Belichick. Handpicked him years ago, and he's a young coach that kind of came up through the ranks. Right? That doesn't surprise me at all. It doesn't. Now, will he get the job? Is he the lead candidate? I don't know. What team did you say, Jacob?
Cowboys.
Cowboys.
Anybody can make that defense better. My God, that was horrible last year, boy. Especially as soon as they got rid of Micah, boy, the wheels really came off.
You saw that video? It's like Flus is a great guy.
Yeah.
The football.
Yeah. It's a football. So